oligarchy feels like. Not someday, right now. We know that a better world is possible, and we are willing to do something about it.
If we stand together, we can defeat Trumpism, we can defeat authoritarianism, we can defeat oligarchy, we can create a new nation.
Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have drawn tens of thousands of people to their fighting oligarchy rallies across blue and red states. In fact, Senator Sanders is kicking off new rallies in West Virginia and North Carolina starting today. And now other Democrats like Congressman Ro Khanna and Beto O'Rourke are doing the same. They're building on the strategy of holding events around the country, taking the fight to the people, sometimes in their own districts and sometimes in Republican districts. Nobody knows what the real answer is to this whole thing that Donald Trump is doing to our country. But perhaps if more Democratic leaders could meet the people where they are and emulate what millions of people are doing by protesting across the country, that would feel authentic. That would feel real. Because right now, Americans are angry and they want change. Joining me now is Congressman Greg Casar, Democrat of Texas. He's the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He joined Senator Sanders on the Fighting Oligarchy tour in Texas. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much for covering it. It's really important.
It is, because there's a sense of helplessness out there about all the torrent of stuff that's coming from Washington. But in fact, if you just keep track of all the people showing up at town halls and rallies in a non-election year, your takeaway as a student of politics would be something much more interesting is happening on the ground than is happening at 1600 Pennsylvania.
That's exactly right. And authoritarians across the world rely on despair and helplessness to help them succeed. But what I see at these rallies and at these town halls, especially in red districts and red states, is that people are ready to organize and that we can find refuge in acting collectively together. That's why far, far away from my own district, when I traveled with Senator Sanders to Tucson, Arizona, there was a line 5 blocks long to get to our rally. We thought it was going to be just in the high school gym, but 25,000 people showed up, took over the entire football field for the largest rally in Arizona history. And I think what's really interesting here is that it is often the progressive members who are out there going to these red states and red districts doing accountability work, not because they're progressive alone, but because folks are looking for real fighters and people who are willing to take it to the billionaire class no matter what.
Right. So after the election, it became an issue of the party moved too far to the left. Did it need to be more in the center? Should the progressive? But it's become a different story now, right? Post-Doge and oligarchy and the things that are going on, you really do have a pretty clear line between people who are ready to go out there and fight and people who are not. And some of the people who are not look a lot like Democratic Party leadership in this country.
It's time for a new generation of leadership in the party and for us to throw out the old playbook. When Donald Trump just signed that horrific billionaire bootlicker betrayal bill, he didn't just kick people in blue districts off of their health care. He's kicking off 17 million Americans off of their health care. This battle is really the billionaires versus everyone else. So we have to go meet up with everyone else. That's why I've been to 7 Republican-controlled districts just in the last few months. That's why the Progressive Caucus has kicked off this accountability summer. You see folks like Yasmin Ansari, Congresswoman, traveling all around Arizona. Congressman Maxwell Frost, our first Gen Z congressman, headed to Omaha, Nebraska. We need more and more leaders who are ready to go out there and do the work, because we can't just, as Democrats, keep just showing up, casting a vote, raising some money, and calling it a day. If this is truly growing authoritarianism, we need to act like it and fire up the engines of our grassroots democracy.
You're standing in front of a quote by John Lewis, "Get in good trouble." Sounds like something your colleagues in the Texas legislature are doing. They've done a bunch of things to prevent a quorum from being held so that Donald Trump doesn't get his 5 extra seats that he's asked for in Congress that could determine the future of control of Congress in the next midterm elections. And now there are arrest warrants coming for them, and apparently, according to John Cornyn, the FBI is looking for them. Again, I've been puzzled for 3 days straight as to what role the FBI has in rounding up elected state officials, state legislators, who, are trying to get their legislative work agenda forwarded?
I mean, right now we have all of these wannabe authoritarians trying to be in the driver's seat in the clown car right now to try to impress Donald Trump. But what's really scary about it is the things they're suggesting are just completely unacceptable in a democracy like our own. Senator John Cornyn, who was once sort of considered a moderate, now showing that because he's scared he might lose an upcoming primary, he's now calling on the FBI to go arrest Democratic elected officials when there's been no crime committed, when the FBI should be going after terrorists or drug traffickers. Instead, he wants to send them after his political opponents. I mean, it's just cowardly and embarrassing. And I think it would be sad if it weren't also so dangerous. But the Texas Democrats are showing the way right now, where there's so many voters that are looking for where is the fight in the Democratic Party today. They're seeing from Texas Democrats what it looks like to put it all on the line, to risk arrest, to be threatened to be removed from office. They're putting it all on the line for our democracy right now. And I think Democrats across the nation need to look to what Texas Democrats are doing.
And you think they are? I mean, obviously, this has gotten the attention of Gavin Newsom. It's got the attention and the hosting largesse of the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. The New York governor is getting involved in this. We're now going to see something like Texas is doing in Florida. They're going to try this redistricting, mid-decade redistricting. Do you think this? I mean, there are a bunch of things going on right now that could be the catalyst that makes the midterm election and the next presidential election start now.
No matter how the Republicans try to gerrymander these lines, they cannot gerrymander away the people of the United States of America. Donald Trump knows he can't win the upcoming midterm elections, so he's trying to rig those elections. He's trying to cheat. And I believe that at the end of the day, if Democrats gerrymander in retaliation to Republicans, as I think Democrats ultimately, unfortunately, should, then, the Republicans think that they're still going to have an advantage at the end of the day. The way we defeat that advantage is by mobilizing people across the nation. Texas Democrats right now are buying us critical time with their quorum break to build a mobilization like we have not seen in my lifetime, because we're facing a challenge like we haven't seen in my lifetime. Ultimately, Donald Trump's goal is to shred the Voting Rights Act as we know it. What John Lewis, whose quote sits behind me, crossed that bridge in Selma for. He wants to send us back pre-1965, and it's up to us to determine whether we let him take us there.
Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Congressman Greg Casar of Texas.